From A to Z, it's plain to see. This podcast is about people in my industry. Writers, designers, social media managers. Don't forget the data miners. HRP.
Welcome back. I am your host, PK Mukweni, and this is the From Ad to Z podcast. Today I'm joined by the ECD, Executive Creative Director at DraftLine JHB, none other than Nigel Matthews. Let's go. So starting right from the beginning, Nigel, I think we have spoken about this, but it was over like loads of after work beers on a Friday late at Aqua. So please tell us, where are you from?
So I'm from a little town outside the Cape Flats called Buffelsfontein. Like, you won't find it on a map. Waze won't take you there. So I started in the ad game at Red and Yellow. So it's an ad school in Cape Town. Right. And I only started there after my dad saw an ad in the papers offering black kids opportunity to study there for free. Of course, covered by either the college or other agencies throughout South Africa. And from there, I did like various jobs. I mean, I think it was an eye-opener from day one in advertising, from school days to my first job actually to where I am now. So I pretty much quit law school and started working like most people do, just a job where you are more a skilled laborer than an actual, like, any education necessary. So my dad saw this. My dad was me that loved advertising and wanted to be a part of it in some way or form. But the tuition fees were quite heavy at the time for us to afford at all. So my dad saw this, I'm not sure what newspaper it was, but the program that Red and Yellow had at the time, I don't know if it still exists, is they look for talented, creative black kids. You're either a writer or an art director. And as with all other kids that try to attend the school, you have to complete the prospectus, which is a series of tests to see if you have the capabilities to do the job. I can safely say that my prospectus sucked big time. It was terrible. The only thing that got me in was my actual written essay about my love for advertising. I mean, I can still remember it vividly, not vividly, but parts of it where I spoke about how even as a young age, when an ad used to play on TV, it would capture my attention as much as a movie or a song, where there's still slogans that I still remember, like from when I was a child, from whether it's a shampoo brand or the iconic Volkswagen ads, or even the Coke commercial back in those days. And when I actually got into it, it's quite a bit of a change, because you think it's pretty much just write some cool words, draw some pretty pictures, and that's an ad. And we all know that's far from the truth.
I want to know a bit more about that home life. So, like you said, your father was around, and I actually saw this picture on Instagram. It was yourself and 3 girls. You were wearing shorts, eating a slice of watermelon. I'm not sure if you were raised around all girls. And what was that like? Please tell us a bit more about that.
So I'm a middle kid, and that pictures of my sisters and I. Home life was very chilled, I'd say, because I mean, my parents were married for plus 40 years, actually a lot longer than that. And my father passed away last year, and it was quite a trying thing, because he was the guy that always said, just chase your dreams. And he's like, advertising, you really want to do it? Let's figure it out. Being a middle child, it actually helped me overcome quite a bit of things, because when I was a kid, I had a stutter because of my sisters, because we all know sisters can be overpowering sometimes. I mean, you also got to give them the limelight so they can shine. Yep. So I struggled to speak in the beginning. And since then, I haven't stopped talking, which is clearly visible in this interview. My parents were always understanding of us and what we needed to do and our dreams. Please don't come here. Sorry, that's my kid, man. He wants to be a part of it. You can even say hello to him.
Come say hi.
Hello and then goodbye.
Hellos. Hashtag dad goals.
Yeah, my parents were always very supportive, and regardless of what it was, they were always there championing us in our corner. Just something that you've always wanted to do myself. It was quite a hard decision for them to understand that your son wants to do something that you don't fully understand. Because my parents, in most households back in those days, it's you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're an accountant, all the expected roles that you need to do. Whereas advertising is a completely foreign thing. My parents were like, so you're gonna like paint walls and like put logos on there and then you're gonna get paid for it? But like, what are you gonna do in that ad? Like, is that gonna be enough to pay the bills? Yeah. It was quite a foreign object to them. And it also took me having to try and help them understand what it was. So it was a bit of a learning curve for both of us.
What age was the red and yellow thing? Was that during high school or earlier than that?
That was when I left school. I did a year in law school. I quit that.
Wow, law school.
Yeah, no, let's leave that. That's not a fun part of life.
All right, cool.
I fully realized that, like, even though I could do it, it wasn't really something that energized me or excited me. So
let's keep it rolling.
So I had to go and, like, my mom was serious that if you're not going to do law, you're going to have to realize what the real world was about. So I had to go and get like a 9-to-5 job, like packing shelves. And that's when my dad found the ad, and that's how I got into advertising.
That's dope. So, but in school, what was your favorite subject?
Favorite subject?
In high school.
High school.
Yeah.
Maths.
Probably.
Probably.
Mine was English. Shout out to Miss Gordon. I used to love English. The thing about it was I didn't have to try so hard, but when I did try hard, I'd get like a 54, and then I'd be like, "But ma'am, you know what's going on?" Like, really? But no, shout out to Miss Gordon. She really changed a lot of lives. Who was that? Maybe one teacher in school that you remember, maybe giving you a couple of words that maybe guided you or put you in the right direction?
I mean, I think I was probably in like. It was at CBC in Greenpoint when it still existed. I think it was like standard 6 or 7. I had an English teacher that said, I always make jokes. I should turn it into a living. And then I realized that South African advertising is quite funny. I mean, we always try and bring humor to all those things. And he said, when I told him that, he said, like, your humor's too dark. You won't be able to sell anything. And I'm like, that's fine. I mean, I'm sure someone will try and tone me down.
I mean, so from that to like you said, you started at JWT, am I correct?
No, I started at a place called the Hippocampus in Cape Town. I was there for about 8 months.
What were you doing?
And then I left Cape Town. So I was a writer, but I mean, from what you think you're going to do in college to what you actually end up doing are two entirely different things. Yeah. So in college, you learn all the facets of advertising and what you could do and how you go about doing it. When I started my first job, all I really did was newsletters for a fitment center, like HiQ. And then I did neck tags on bottles for 6 months. And then I realized, like, yo, man, I ain't learning anything here. I need to bounce. And called my sister up, told her I'm coming to Joburg, moved in with her, and boom, started looking for a job.
Oh, you started looking once you got here?
Yeah. I already set up everything, but it takes a while, man.
Yeah, you obviously really believe in yourself. Where do you get that from? Because obviously your father believed in you so much to hand you that ad and be like, hey, go for this. What makes you believe in yourself that much that you're like, "Hi, Cape Town, it's enough. Jozi, I'm coming"?
I honestly don't know, man. I think you got to have confidence in yourself to a degree where it doesn't border on just being an egomaniac. But I think as a creative, we all have to protect ourselves with our ego, where we spend all this time on something and now we're asking other people to judge it, whether that's your boss or the client or even the public. So I think you really have to have that mental fortitude of being able to stand up and say, like, yo, this is who I am. Like, let me do my thing.
Now, as a young copywriter. What was your favorite copy to write? Was it social? Was it TVCs, radio? What was that?
Print ads, man.
Print ads.
Still love them. Old school classic.
What do you love about it?
It allows you. It's such a hard medium to get right, and also it's always a struggle for me because I've always felt that even as a copywriter, I want the ad to have as little copy as possible. So actually, let the visual itself tell the story, and let me close the gap with a line. But then again, I also love long copy ads where it's about 200 words on a page. It's just a headline. How can I pull someone in to stop what they're doing to actually spend time with this ad?
Yeah. What would you say to a young Nigel, I guess, once you landed that first job in Jozi? What would you say to him? Like in the next 10, after 10 years where you are now? That risk that you took and all of that.
I'd say take more risks.
Even more risks.
I think more risks, yeah. I think I learned later on that it's only when we take risks that the work is better for it. And also life is better for it. If you play it safe, nothing's going to change. You're going to keep making the same stuff, getting the same response, just living the same life. You're not going to put yourself out there. And most of the times you are going to get burnt, but it's worth it in my opinion. Yeah. It's all a learning curve.
100%. And like you said, you mentioned learning the rules first, but you had it in the advertising school context. Now, I actually interviewed Tom Manners from Clockwork. He said you have to learn the rules before you can break them. All right. Now,
Correct.
Once you had, say, 3 years into the industry, is there any person who kind of, be it a creative director at that time, who pulled you aside and be like, look, you're doing good work, but like, do this or do that, change how you work here or there? Somebody who's left a lasting impact on your career.
It's actually quite funny because one of the people that had a lasting impact on my career early on, I worked with her at McCann, and she's actually my boss now at DraftLine, the agency I work at AB InBev. She's the chief creative officer in Neo Sekola. So when I met her there and started working there, she was a senior writer. And I'd always come to her and say like, yo, man, how do I make this thing better? What do I do? And she'd always just tell me like, it's got to be dope. Like, what is the insight? What is the crux of what you're trying to say? Once you know that and how you can say it, then make the stuff. Make the pots, as they say.
So so people might drive past a billboard and see 2 or 3 lines of copy, or maybe one word, but the background is a certain color or something like that, and they don't understand how much insight actually goes into that. Please tell us about why those insights are so important, and how do you, as a copywriter, make sure that you are like pinpointing every single angle that you could possibly think about it, so that it doesn't go wrong. You know what I mean? Because it can go wrong. It can definitely go wrong.
It can go very wrong. I mean, the Pepsi commercial in America is a good example of
Kylie Jenner. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, without a real or relevant insight, no one can attach anything to that, whether it's emotion or feelings or a relevance of that nature. Because if it's just the work for work's sake, it's wallpaper. But when that insight is that strong, it strikes a chord, not only with the consumer, but also with the creative, that you can see that thing and that thing sparks something and you get it in immediately. I mean, I don't want to throw out stats there, but the majority of work that's anywhere, without those insights, it's not going to do the job.
Yeah, it's not going to do anything at all. Now let's get into Calling Black Label, the much loved almost national juice, let's call it, but let's keep it safe. Let's I want to talk about this awesome campaign that you guys ran last year during that hard lockdown phase. I'm sure everybody will remember where you were, what was going on. So every year, everybody, to the viewers out there, there's something called the Soweto Derby, football game between Pirates and Chiefs, sponsored by Black Label, well, one of the main sponsors. Obviously, with the COVID lockdown and restrictions, stadiums were closed, but the football fans still wanted their football, right? This has been going on for years. It's a tradition, and it had to happen somehow. AB, AB and you guys, you guys had to make the parts happen somehow. Please tell me about how that brief came along for the Calling Cup of Ages. And please tell us about it. Please tell us about the concept, how you guys worked around it, and how you felt when you watched it roll out so successfully.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you said, it's probably one of the most iconic derbies in Africa. And Calling Label is a sponsor for both of them. So it's quite a big deal for the brand itself. And with COVID happening, it happened all across the world. And we saw a similar brand did this soccer match using archive footage. The benefit that they had was that their sponsor, one of their sponsors, was like our equivalent of SuperSport. So they could pull up 50 years of footage. We had 8 matches. And as we all know, the Soweto Derby, the most goals you probably get is a 2-1.
Yeah.
Or a 0-0, most likely. That's what it was. So when we were briefed to fill in this gap, we actually had to look back in history. I mean, I think we were calling our media guy probably every day for about 2 weeks just to try and get more content from SuperSport. And he's pretty much said that this is it. There is nothing else you're going to get. Make this work.
There are no more games. You know what I mean? Can't do it.
There's no more games. There's no more goals. We have to use the goals from the Calling Cup, nothing else.
Yep.
So we had 8 matches and we had to create 90 minutes of football. So there's various ways of doing that, is that you can just look at the match itself and changing moments out. But like Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates fans, they know every single moment of every single match. They know those 3 passes are going to lead there. Or they know when they see Riyad Pitissa in goal, what the scoreline was for that game. So we pretty much had to dissect that match into moments and see how we can stitch those together. So we worked with TNW and what are their names? Black something. It'll come to me. And we pretty much slept in studio trying to make this work. We would look at, so there's that many amount of kits through the years. There's these many players. So that's all the background knowledge that will help us later on. But we pretty much had, what they did, which is the biggest job to start off with, was how many passes go from left to right in the first half for each team? How many passes go from right to left in the second half for both teams? So then we have that bank. And then we started to actually stitch things together where we had to make sure that if someone passed the ball across a certain distance, was there enough power, enough velocity?
Make it realistic.
To see
the
real. So then we had to build all that out.
Wow.
And then change kits as it is happening. Because I mean, even in the beginning, we tried to make as many changes as possible so you can actually try and filter it into the viewer's mind that this is actually a real match that we've made and nothing you see is going to ever be the same. So we even looked beyond the field. We made sure that there was never a repeat of the fan in the stadium. The only repeat you'd see of the fan is if the fan is wearing a certain Pirates kit in like the first half. In the second half, they're wearing a different thing. So even if you see them, there's that little thing in your brain that's like, whoa, what's going on here? Yeah. But that was only like one aspect of it. Then we actually had to build the sound. And we literally had 3 sound engineers come in there and just work on the noise the ball makes, then the noise the crowd makes, then the ref whistle. It was nerve-wracking. I mean, my hair was much bigger than it is right now. My beard was going everywhere. But I mean, it was a complete team effort between Neo and Klantla and Loiso, and even like the greater team. It was, and Suku, it was a lot to get through.
Looking back at your days in advertising, is this one of the more challenging campaigns you've run?
I mean, it definitely. I mean, no one ever wakes up wanting to make a soccer match. Like, you don't even know how to go about that. It's like it's impossible to even fathom. I mean, everyone's had like tough TV shoots, tough radio recordings, but trying to make something that's never existed before, it's a complete first. Yeah. I mean, even before the match went live, I got a call from a client saying that the audio levels weren't right. And I'm like, there's no possible way. It's 10 minutes before kickoff. Like, this thing has to be right. Like, there's no way that's not going to happen. And I told him, tell the SABC engineers just to play the match. Everyone's going to be blown away. They're going to enjoy it. It's going to be cool. And when it happened, it was insane. I mean, the clients that were speaking to me before the match, he called me at the end of the first half saying that Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates have called him saying that this is amazing. They think it's the best thing ever. And they want to look at, like, how do you make this thing even bigger?
That's awesome, man. Those are the moments that make it worth it, right? The overgrown beard and afro. Those are the moments that make it worth it. When the client is happy, that's it. That's all we're here for, right?
Yeah, man. That's the thing. At the end of that, it's something learned from Red and Yellow is that if you're unhappy to put your name on it, then maybe it shouldn't go out. Yeah. And I think I probably put my full name on that, even the bad middle name. I put it all on there because as much as it was like not sleeping at all, not eating properly, barely saw my wife and my kids. I think literally the last night we spent more than 24 hours in studio before I had to dispatch the material to the SABC. Definitely worth it. Would I do it again? Probably in a heartbeat. But I mean, it was stressful. Yeah. But I think just the social media response alone, like, made it worth it. It was, yeah. Like,
I was online. I was like, "What is going on, dude?" I know you guys. You killed it. Shout out to DraftLine JHB. One time. So, just touching on Black Label a little bit more. So as the ECD, working on the brand, you are obviously responsible for the comms and what goes out to the public. How do you, as an alcohol brand, make sure that your comms are not only, relevant to your market and they reach the target correctly, but they're also safe and make sure that they don't endanger other people? Is it a thing of putting the the line at the bottom of the ad, or is there more thought into that?
So we one of the agencies that work on Colin Black Label. The other one is Ogilvy Cape Town. They're the lead and we the support. So when it comes to responsible drinking, as an industry, we have to be not just as an industry, as an alcohol business, we have to be very responsible in how we portray the stories we tell within our alcohol ads. We have to be very careful that things are responsible, but it engenders a positive example to people. So the legal line at the bottom of the ads play a certain role, but as a brand with all the other alcohol brands that we work with at DraftLine, it's also about what we say and what we do, because we can't. Like, a good example is the way the Savannah content has gone out. Like, that's people just loving the brand and doing that thing there. And
the brand can't do anything about it. Yeah, the brand is really, the brand kind of has to stand back and let the people do what they want in that circumstance, to be honest with you.
People do their thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but then the other benefit that we have is that we have a unit at the office where, regardless of the work that's coming through, before it can even go out, this work is checked by certain individuals. Some guys in legal, some guys in other departments, and they check that nothing we say can be misconstrued in any other way. It is a hard thing to go through, but it is a necessary thing to go through, because one misstep and suddenly the brand is torn to shreds on social. No one ever remembers the good things about the brand, but when something bad happens, people are more than willing to jump on board and get a few hits in.
Hey, let's take a quick pause. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share the From Ad to Z podcast to you, to me, for everybody to see. I really appreciate it. Let's go. So, Nigel, now I want to find out, what is your favorite thing outside of advertising? Is it being a dad? I know you're a father of 2. Now we know you're a father of 2.
Three.
That's we only saw 2.
Yeah. Two girls and 1 boy. I mean, I love being a dad. I mean, it is all it's cracked up to be. I mean, you try to be the best example you can. But also, like learning from my own dad, you just want to give your kids the best that you can. So, job isn't always easy, because like there's the late nights, the cranky calls over the weekend. You try and do the best you can. I mean, it's things I love doing, man. Football's got to be up.
Gotta find that balance.
Yeah. It's that life-work balance thing, man. And it doesn't always balance out. But you always try and make things work. Yeah. I mean, being a dad is great. Being a husband is greater. I mean, there's a lot of things that because my interests change. Wouldn't say daily, but some things a bit more, some things a bit less. I mean, I'm crazy about football. Crazy about booze. I mean, I even work at a beer company.
Like I said in the beginning of the interview, we had a bit of this chat, but it was 5 years ago over a lot of beers.
Family time with friends. And also, I mean, I do love like creative things, man. I love talking about music, like listening to different things. I mean, in the previous life, I probably thought I was a decent producer. If I could even like make a beat.
Oh, you got so you have beats somewhere on the hard drive, eh?
No, I would just see like in my brain how it actually make it sound a bit better.
I see.
Together and kind of stuff. I mean, I'm big into comic books, music. Yeah, man. It's like I used to go to a lot of art galleries back in the day, but finding that time now isn't really the thing. So yeah, man. Just mostly like creative stuff or just chilling.
Word. And dream brand, what's your dream brand to work on? Obviously, it won't be an alcohol brand. Leave all the alcohol brands out of it. But what's a dream brand to work on? A beard care line.
I mean, the dream brands for me would be the ones that have done iconic work and trying to make work that either matches it or surpasses it. So, I mean, you've got like, we can sit here and talk about ads for days. I mean, there's the great air conditioning campaigns from South America, Dads in Briefs, like to try and do work that's just so clever and so crazy, like the Old Spice work, like any brand that has really gone out there and changed the face of advertising, like, it's like probably like the brands I'd want to work on. I mean, I'd love to work on Old Spice. I mean, I'd love to do a whiskey commercial in an entirely different way. I'd love to even look at, I mean, in our country, we're blessed. We've had lots of great work like over the years. I mean, some of the iconic Volkswagen work, the BMW work, even like, I'm going to hate myself for saying this, I would love to change how banks advertise. Like, because they all do the same thing. And I pretty much told my boss that I would never work on another bank again because of those things. They're just too stuck in their ways. But, I mean, I'd even love to work on Dove. and Dove's been doing stunning things for multiple years for multiple agencies.
They make the most beautiful, like clean and soft, like TVCs you ever like. You just watch it and you're like, oh, I want to be in that milk bath. You know what I'm saying? The sound,
Exactly.
the sound, everything is just amazing. Yeah, that's a good one, Dove. Yeah, definitely. One of my final questions is, Nigel, what would you tell a young copywriter, or an aspiring copywriter? What should this 16-year-old, perhaps still in high school, they kind of know that they want to be a writer of some sort? What would you tell them? What should they focus on?
Oof. Oh, it's a loaded question, man.
Sorry, bud.
Yeah. I would say study the greats, man. But I'm not just talking about advertising. I'm talking about writing in general. Like, look at various writers in different genres and how they go about telling a story. Because whether it's a movie or a comic book or even a manga or a song, the way you use words to tell a story and how you tell that is very, very important. Because that in itself is, you have to be a sponge and just sponge everything up. I mean, Nas made a great song. I forgot. It's actually something that I try to do, is that, can you tell a story in reverse?
Yes,
And
I
tell
know
it
what
in a
song you're
way
talking about. Yeah, I know what song.
it makes complete sense still. And we kind of made it work, but not to the same level as Nas. So that idea was scrapped entirely. But it's how do you, because the best way to tell stories is actually just read stories. And there's stories everywhere. I mean, something I tell like some writers is to challenge yourself, is that if you see a billboard and you drive past it every day, try and make it better every day. See that line, see that product. How would you make that ad better? But even in movies, like, how would you make the ending better? Is the character developed enough? Is the story being told? Is it an honest story? Is it told in an authentic way? It's just learn from the greats of how to tell like an amazing story. Because we all get stuck in this thing that a great story has to be in a book, but it doesn't have to be. Rappers are storytellers. Dancers are storytellers. And it's all about getting to the essence of how is the best way to tell that story, and then to write like there's no tomorrow. Like, just keep writing. That's how you craft yourself. I mean, I remember writing something, I'm like, oh man, that's amazing. That's so good. And I go and show a CD and they're like, yeah, that's shit, eh? Have you ever thought about it from this angle? And just that perspective on things changes things for the better.
Yeah,
so I would say...
No, I think you said that beautifully. Stories are not only in books; they are in songs, they are in dancing, they are in. So yeah, everybody out there, just tell your story. All you young people out there, tell your story. Learn from the greats, as you heard from Mr. Nigel himself. Nigel, we're almost gonna wrap up. I just want to do a quick little quiz, just to see where you are. You can give me your answer and tell me why you chose that one or why you didn't choose the other one. We just make it groovy. What are you jamming right now? What song are you jamming real hard, like over and over right now?
Oh wow.
I'll tell you mine. Mine right now is Rod Wave. It's called Richer. He goes, I'm richer than I've ever been. I'm richer than I've ever been. But riches is not in the pockets. It's in your mind and in your heart. Go ahead. Tell me what your favorite song is.
There's two at the moment, man. The one is it's a funny one to say. It's like, it's my best friend from Megan Thee Stallion. Like, it's just a catchy fucking tune.
Yeah. I feel you.
And the second one is there's bedtime stories on my laptop that my kids listen to. So it would be bedtime stories is the other thing that I jam as much as that. If I'm not reading it myself, like, I'll just be there and we'll all listen to Jack and the Beanstalk in this woman's monotonous voice that puts anyone to sleep.
Dope. I don't know. We spoke about the two teams, but we didn't choose which is your favorite, Pirates or Chiefs.
Oh man, Kosi for life.
Kosi for life.
Chiefs, man.
All right. So you couldn't also finagle the ending of the Carling Cup. It's Kosi's way.
We had one specific instruction, is that it has to end in a draw. Because if either team won, I think it would have been anarchy in the streets.
Yeah.
And in order.
You gave it to them. Right now, Biggie versus Tupac.
Oh,
Pac.
Ooh, too quickly, yeah.
That was quick. Yeah, that was very quick. You can take a second or two. Just think about it, because my favorite is Pac. But my favorite Biggie song is "The What" with Method Man, which is a better song than my favorite Pac song, which is weird. So yeah, it's Biggie and Pac. So go ahead. I understand why you felt that way.
So when we were growing up and I used to stay at my cousin's house, they were like really big into rap. Excuse me, and they even had gangs there that were at East Coast, that's West Coast. And my cousin was West Coast. I mean, it was Pac for life. But I also remember listening to Brenda's Got a Baby, and I just sat there, stunned, like there's no way that you can tell a story that vividly and just stop me. And like it's been Pac since then.
And in terms of sneakers, All Stars or Jordans, how do you feel about it?
That's an easy one. That's All Stars, man. I think in my lifetime I've only seen 2 Jordans, and I'm like, damn, that's a nice sneaker. But All Stars, man, it's a classic. Like you can't go wrong with a pair of Converses.
You cannot go wrong with a pair of Converses. You cannot go wrong with an awesome guest like Nigel Matthews. Nigel, my man. It's been a long time, but we had a great chat. Thank you so much for joining me, dude. Do you have any final words for the From A to Z listeners out there, whether they're watching on YouTube, Spotify, or listening on an Apple or Google Podcasts? What do you have to say to these peeps?
I hope I wasn't boring, man.
Nah, man.
30 minutes watching me. But for the advertising people out there, the struggle is real, but the work is worth it, man, when you put your heart into it. So keep believing and keep doing dope stuff. Peace.
Word. Well said. Keep believing, keep doing dope stuff, and keep listening and sharing the From A to Z podcast wherever you listen, wherever you watch. Let's make it go boom. Like I said, let's get it. From A to Z, I've been your host, PK Elvato Mukweni, and we are out. Episode 5 has been a bang. Bow.
From A to Z, it's plain to see. This podcast is about people in my industry. Writers, designers, social media managers. Don't forget the data miners. HRPR, find out who they are and how they made it this far. From A to Z, talk about your family, talk about the goals you reach, talk about the plans you see. Let's get it. Welcome aboard. I'm your host, PK Mukweni, and this is the From A to Z podcast.